The year is 2022. The podcast is Too Much Dip. My name's Dave. I'm going to host live in studio with me at this very moment. You guys might know him from Circling Back fame. You might know him from TFM fame.
Or from Too Much Dip fame.
I just know him as the Shack It influencer fame. It's Dylan.
There's also a, and Randy brought this to my attention earlier, a half sweater, half jacket called a swacket. And we're doing a lot at this point, but also I may be copying, but I might call it a swagget because, I got swag. And I just heard how that sounds, and that's not great. But
yeah, I don't know if that's going to stick.
That was totally unintentional. But anyway, it's a half sweater, half jacket.
Is that not the same thing?
There's a little band out there called the Cardigans that would have to have a word with the Swacket fan base.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, I am very happy to be here. I did happen to watch a few sports games over the holiday break. Ready
Alone?
to discuss. I'm sorry?
Did you watch these events alone, or did you by a chance watch them with the company of anyone else on this podcast?
We Rose Bowled.
We did. I watched an hour of a game with Dave, and
The good part of the game we watched.
Yeah.
I was just going to go back through the group text just to see when that was arranged. I figured it was like I guess it's because y'all are dads. Well, I guess I'm a dad too. So, or it was a dog owner thing, right? Well, I guess I have a dog too. So, I mean, shit. Maybe next time.
You're checking
guys.
all the boxes. But you weren't selected.
Yeah. The Waco Dixon line rides again.
We'll be seeing more of you.
Yeah. A little squad session soon. Yeah, for sure.
No?
That's KJ, guys.
We do
live
miss
from.
you.
Where's your current place?
I am a north central suburb apartment boy in the bosoming tier 1 suburb of Capel, Texas is live where I'm coming at you from.
Home of the Cowboys.
Home of the Cowboys and home of Deli Man Grill, the noted and renowned deli and I guess diner for a Stubbs sandwich. Are you familiar with the Stubbs sandwich?
Was that the Madden favorite?
The John Madden favorite, yes, where it is a 2 pieces of Texas toast, a sausage patty, eggs, bacon, and I want to say maybe ham is on that bad boy too. And they cook that up and give it to you as a breakfast sandwich.
That sounds fantastic.
Keeps cardiologists in business, I would say.
Who else is? Let's talk notable Coppell alum. Was Kyler not originally from Coppell before he transferred, or was he Louisville?
If so, I'm unaware. Emmanuel Moutier, not Emmanuel Moutier. That's wrong. Maybe Emmanuel Moody and not Moutier.
USC?
Who was a running back who committed to University of Florida at one point in time.
I think he went to USC at one point too.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Connor Williams, noted Capel Cowboy.
There's an OU tie-in too. The Wall brothers. Ryan Wall.
Jacob Wall?
One of the Wall. No, not Jacob Wall. I don't think that's the same one.
Different.
Anyway, nobody cares. But that is fun. How long are you going to be in this place?
We are doing what they call a short-term 6-month stint in the suburb of Capel. So it's been nice to have, more than 4 restaurants at my choosing at any time. It'll make the trip down, 10, 15 minutes longer, but who gives a shit about that? But then, 6 months from now, mark these words, more squad time. Who knows?
Do you even fully unpack if you're doing 6 months? You keep boxes kind of
shocking to a lot of people. Apparently I did, with one glaring exception. And I expected you to notice, but I don't know how big I'm showing up there. But over my shoulder, you'll notice one glaring thing that shows you that I'm here for a good time, but not necessarily a long time. And that is a mounted television in which the wire is still very, very visible.
I noticed that within 5 seconds of you popping up on the screen. I didn't want to say anything and completely put you on Front Street, but it is quite bothersome. Yeah. But you're there.
I almost unplugged. Okay. That's how vain I am about it, knowing that I was in front of, the guy that hangs more brain and TVs than anyone this side of the Mississippi.
That's you,
I
man.
almost unplugged it. It wasn't on television the whole time.
Are you gaming?
I will be set up to game this evening, but I have confirmed speeds are quite good. I'm in a good position.
Okay.
The boys, you might see a flossing when it comes to high speed here.
Well,
Let's do that sport.
let's do some sports. Again, this is the Too Much Dip podcast, our first one of the year. I think the best thing to do would be just to go through everything we've missed for the last 3 weeks and just touch on it. Or do you want to segment it and just talk bowls? Because we're guys who like sports, but we're guys who really, really like bowl season.
Only bowls I know about they kind of smoke from.
That's not how you would hold it. You're holding it like it's a joint. That's better.
There we go.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I much like Dylan am, that's not notedly my bag. And then this is another aside after I said, let's talk sports, but, I was waiting on a pizza the other day, walked into the neighboring CBD shop just to pick up some CBDs for young Wallace, my dog. Figured new place, let's settle down that anxiety. And the whole time they were just like, well, what are you usually into? And she starts mimicking like hand gestures because she can't say the words. And I'm like, the only CBD I fuck with is Early Bird. So, if you ain't got that, then I ain't here for it. But it just was very funny to see this lady start miming, like, she tried to like roll her fingers a little bit. I
want to know if you burn.
She went to like the bong position. I was like, this looks weird.
You should have told her you smoke only Capel's stickiest weed. Well, you should have said.
And been shown the door.
Do you guys want to talk about your favorite bowl? No, we don't have to do that. I want KJ to issue his like extraordinarily piping hot take about people who opt out of bowl games. Go ahead, KJ.
I feel like we went through a weekend full of just blazing hot shit takes. Most notably, Kirk Herbstreit, I believe, took the brunt of the attention. I would say Clint Sterner, former Dallas Cowboy quarterback and Arkansas Razorback, had one of the worst opinions out there. This was post-Corral injury, I believe, when talking about I'm happy for Matt Corral that he's not injured, but regardless, he wouldn't have lost out on anything because there are several scouts and GMs that would have looked at his willingness to play and love for the game and taken that into consideration when drafting him.
That's definitely how it works.
Say, yeah, fucking right.
Kid just has the intangibles.
So, there's not much to be said that hasn't been said that like, yeah, players these days, I would argue, only love football. They're not here for the other bullshit that like we make football out to be, that it's life and that it's all of these big grandiose things, which, will pale in contrast when we get a chance to talk about John Madden. But like, I think players are only there for the 8 to 5. Let's strap in, get practice done, get good at my craft and make it their business and then leave the other bullshit at home. That's all they're there for now. And everybody else wants them to be there for everything else. The grit, the grind, the passion.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was this group text or the meme one or what, but we had somebody talking about a player from the Jets getting a jersey signed by Tom Brady. I don't know if y'all saw that after the game. And I'm like,
it was the football that he intercepted from Tom Brady. Maybe the jersey too.
Which, shouts to Tom if he signed it. But I'm like, that's a prime example. Like players, like it is their job and or a game. Like they're not there to worry about, oh my gosh, this is my enemy. This is the guy I'm, strapping up against. I never want to talk to him. Like it's their job. And college players are looking at it like that now.
Yeah. When I left the game in 9th grade, that's definitely how I was approaching it. Like, so my 7th and 8th grade year, that's, you pretty much nailed it. I totally co-sign what you're saying.
Sorry, coach. Second period's about to start. I got to fucking go. That's it for me.
Yeah, I got Spanish too, buddy. See you later.
Most of these bowl games are like, I know some of them are actually important, right? Some of them are just like money grabs for the universities. I mean, these sponsored bowls will give your school several $1 million to play in a game. I don't know how it works, but opt out of a pretty meaningless game. Who cares? I mean, who cares?
Yeah,
right?
I don't. Yeah, I think anybody who criticizes a kid's choice either way is in the wrong. I mean, that's a pretty good standard, and I think people finally came to realize that after some nuclear takes. Between the post-mortem Madden takes and the opt-out takes, this was just the last 10 days have been unbelievable.
The Madden takes.
We'll get to that later.
What the hell?
I don't know what was going on. People were looking for smoke on Twitter. It's a weird time.
I'm glad you reminded me. Conveniently and coincidentally, I forgot all the concussion-related Madden takes that people came out with early on.
Oh, man. Topical.
My last thought on the opt-outs, the Athletic put out a number. There were only like 20 actual like opt-outs. Kenny Pickett's was pretty evident because him being, likely the number one quarterback drafted out of Pitt, they kept showing him in the booth with his headset on. He wanted to remain involved. And so he like helped with calling plays or did something from the booth, remained around the team. And then the backup quarterback got injured like in the first quarter. So they were rolling out there with their third string quarterback for the rest of the bowl game. And then they kept showing Kenny Pickett up there with a headset on. Like, it's not a bad look on him. It's just inconvenient. I think that the Bowls can shift going forward to being more useful for when we start. I bitched all season about rankings and preseason rankings. If the Bowls shift from being like this, like crowning jewel for a team's season behind them and more of like, here are the players that are on the roster that will be there next year and more reflective of like what they're rolling into next year with, I think there's an opportunity there. Will we watch less if like your departing seniors aren't there for a 13th game? I don't know. I'm still going to have it on. I'll probably watch the same amount. And now I'm getting a chance to see, I don't know, Quinn Ewers play if he were to stay or whatever. Like, would that impact maybe players sticking around a little bit longer if now they're going to be playing in that bowl game?
You're assuming that Texas makes a bowl game.
Okay, dude.
I was hypothetically saying he was still at Ohio State and stayed to play. But obviously CJ Stroud's a freshman. I'm saying yes.
Dylan, we're having fun.
Oh, are we, David? No, yeah. Bold proclamation. Texas makes a bowl game next year. They win at least 6 games.
I'll ride with that.
Yeah, I know it's out there,
Okay.
but that's what we do here.
Well, let's start by talking about the fabric of our lives, the touch, the feel, the Cotton Bowl. It's the fabric of our lives, Dylan. I don't know if you know that or not. What?
Oh, cotton.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Bama versus Cincinnati, a game that – did we all get that one wrong? We didn't – I'm not going to say that anybody had like –
No.
Okay.
There's no way.
Dylan got it right. Nicole got it right.
Okay.
You and I picked it as a big boy stack.
That was not one of the 3 games you picked correctly, KJ?
You guys picked Cincinnati?
With the points, yeah.
What was the spread?
13.5, I think, when we had it.
13.
That's ridiculous.
If they'd scored a touchdown on the last drive, they covered. So, I mean, we didn't miss the spread by much. We didn't pick them like straight up.
That game went exactly as everyone should have expected it to go, I think.
Oh, here we go.
It's a boring, like, Alabama just slowly pulls away. Nothing like too exciting happens. They play great defense and good enough offense, and that's an Alabama game.
Yeah, they were the better team.
Yeah, it turns out when your team has much better talent and is better coached, you tend to play pretty well.
Don't poo-poo Cincy's coaching staff. They're highly coveted.
He's coaching against the GOAT, man.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, they are well coached. Ironically, both teams were like are amongst the most penalized. So I don't know if we count that as well coached or not. I have a feeling that you probably would hear from better coaches that like teams that get holding calls and or defensive pass interference calls or OPIs for that matter, offense pass interference, that's probably something that they're like being more aggressive on, like make them call it, I'd rather you get the penalty kind of thing, but pre-snap penalties, they don't want a lot of. Anyways, I took away from the game that Cincinnati didn't look completely outclassed. They got beat every single drive. They were unable to like hold them to a 3rd and short, but they made plays defensively when they forced Alabama to pass. And I think Cincinnati showed that even if the depth wasn't there, their pass defense was legit. Shouts to Nick Saban for like lining up in the first drive. I think it was like 8 of 9 runs when all year long they've been doing nothing but throwing the ball. I think they played like New Mexico State and threw it like 52 times and ran it, whatever handful of times. Like there were games where they just didn't run it more than 10 times. And here they lined up and ran it with a 5th-year running back that nobody knew about or cared about. And he put up 240 yards, the most any Alabama players had in any bowl game. So shouts to them for running the game that needed to be played. But I think it was a sign of respect for Cincinnati that they didn't line up and try to throw the ball all over the place.
Yeah, that game I was not as disappointed in. I thought since he could keep it within 10, obviously it's why I picked him. Hell, I put a big boy stack on him, which was very, in retrospect, pretty bold. But it's tough that like they'll never get that chance to go back because they just ruined it for every other team. Because now it's just like, hey man, sorry, you can't compete with the Power Fives. And I'm joking. I'm not being serious here. I did see that take thrown out there.
That was being thrown out there quite a bit. Where like this just shows that you can't compete. Like, frankly, not a lot of people can compete with Alabama. Had we had Cincinnati, Michigan, which there wasn't a ton of justification for once Bama beat the shit out of Georgia, but like had it fall into where Bama and Georgia had to replay each other in the first round, and we got Cincy, Michigan, I think we would have been happier to see a competitive semifinal game on each side. And then let's say we get, I don't know, even since this same exact game in the championship, I feel like we would have been better off than what we had for 2 playoff games and then getting 1 competitive championship.
Yeah, I played the game of like, okay, which team that potentially could have jumped Cincinnati in that 4 spot would have given Alabama a better game. And I immediately thought, okay, Oklahoma State was close. They were an inch away, quite literally. And I don't think they would have scored. I don't think they would have put up any points against Alabama. No offense.
Notre Dame definitely would not.
I don't think Baylor would have. I mean, after what it's just.
There are a handful of teams right now that can be competitive against Bama and Georgia for that matter.
One of them opted out of their bowl game due to COVID. I don't know if you know that.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, yeah. How do you feel about that opt-out, KJ?
It was, in contrast to the UCLA opt-out, where UCLA opts out the day of the game, hours before, which I think is legitimate. If they're saying we've got positive cases, can't play. But you see every single bowl game you watch, they show you clips from during the week when they take the kids to fucking Dave and Buster's or whatever. Like, a lot goes into the bowl game week. Like they're doing shit like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like they go to a children's hospital. There's all kind of bullshit. Cotton Bowl does it as good as anyone, I know of. It's only the only bowl game I've been a part of in the past. So I can't imagine being North Carolina State, going from North Carolina to San Diego, spending a week there, having your family be there for 2 or 3 days in expensive ass hotels, long ass way away from home. And UCLA is just like, sorry, we ain't got it. Whereas Texas A&M, like a week and a half before or whatever it was, says, yeah, we don't have the personnel to be prepared.
And then
when it's like a 5-day quarantine timeline.
The beat reporter was saying that whoever the walk-on was, quarterback that was supposed to start, tested positive. And then like an hour later, he quote tweets it like, oh, really? Because that's news to me. And then he deleted the tweet eventually. So people are saying that maybe they didn't want the smoke.
The speculation is that, okay, so some guys, departed early for the draft. They had some guys that were, I guess, out with COVID, although a week and a half announcement would lead to me. I mean, there's enough time to, be cleared.
This is pre-5-day CDC,
okay.
To be fair.
It was still, quote unquote, 10 days at the time, but still.
Remind me who they were set to play.
Do you remember? Football team.
They were replaced by Rutgers. Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest. Yeah, because Rutgers was 5-7 and played them, and actually
put up a
played
good
them
game
quite closely for playing a team that was undefeated until like the last week of the season.
Yeah,
they were down a quarterback, right?
They might have been down 2.
Okay.
Calzada, their backup. So Haynes King injured, not available. Calzada, who started most of the season, had already went into the transfer portal before the bowl game. And then they were on their 3rd quarterback. I don't know if he was on scholarship or not. And apparently that's the one that got COVID. They probably had 2 others on the roster that they just said aren't good enough. But regardless, you're Texas A&M. I think the reason they opt out is because they're Texas A&M and they don't need the fucking money. They're one of the top revenue programs in the country from an athletic department standpoint. But you've got enough players on your roster to show up and just hand the ball off 45 times and, go to the bowl game. They clearly just were like, yeah, we don't fucking care. We're not going.
Yeah, I'm going to be this guy and be like, man, this probably won't be, well, some of those guys, it's going to be their last opportunity, but I'm just thinking like, dude, that's kind of, going to bowl games is probably a pretty cool experience. KJ, you can speak to that. So it just kind of sucks for the kids, the seniors, maybe. I don't know.
I'd say the seniors, and I mean, they're people like myself. I was fortunate to be at Texas Tech right at the right time where we went to the Cotton Bowl. So I was there for the whole 9 days or whatever and all of those festivities or whatever. But it was a big deal then. I would say bowl games are much bigger to like smaller schools where that's the pinnacle of their season. So if we're going to say it both ways, so where like the only game matters is the college football playoff and the championship and none of the other things matter. But then when you're UNT and you win 5 straight games to become bowl eligible at the end of the season, like they got ran in their bowl game, but it was a big deal for them to get to that point. So I think bowl season needs to stick around. I think that there's a lot of benefit to it, even if it doesn't mean these players are going to get highlighted and go to the league. Who cares? I think that it's still something good to look forward to for some of these teams who aren't conference champions. You could be 11-1, not go to your conference championship, and all of a sudden somebody else like says, hey, your bowl sucks, we're not playing in it, and that's your season. That would suck. That's basically almost what happened to Wake Forest.
Yeah.
I kind of love your idea of just letting it be a showcase for like the up and coming talent in your program. I don't know exactly how you would do that. Like, I mean,
you just roll. Sorry.
No, I'm saying if seniors want to play, you got to let them. But if somebody opts out, okay, that's a chance for the next guy to like show, step up and play the game.
Next man up is what I've always said.
That's your trademark position. Next man up. Yeah. I just mean it from a marketing standpoint. Like the people who are loudly complaining about this are the ESPNs who are, the ones getting all the money from this for the most part. But like all they have to do is then, think of all the money that comes out of freaking high school recruitment. Some of these players become names that you remember for the most part. Like we talk about A&M having 5-star signed. Okay. Maybe 2 of them are just great players we hear about for future years. 2 of them are going to be people we don't hear about in the next year or 2 at all. So like all they have to do is pivot and start marketing whoever the next person is, run a profile on that guy and you're good to go. So whatever, that's my bowl soliloquy of whatever you want to call it. Soapbox. I mean, Georgia, Michigan was dog shit.
This is the most disappointing for me because not even because I picked Michigan, but just, I thought this was going to be a fun game. I thought this was going to be back and forth, ultimately with Michigan on top. Boy, was I wrong. Went the exact opposite. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, all these like 5-star laden recruiting classes that Alabama and UGA put together. I mean, the difference in talent on the field seemed to be pretty apparent. I mean, obviously Michigan has a few absolute studs, especially along the D line. But my God, it was ugly. They out-talented them. It was ugly.
Did not expect to turn on an episode of season 2 Succession at the half with my wife. She's like, can we watch a Succession? And I was like, you know what? We absolutely can. We absolutely can watch one because this is not going to get better.
Well, if there's a standard to live up to when it comes to picking what football games and the outcomes of said games, I think we have to defer to Mrs. Alyssa Ruff from here on out. But
Mrs. 5 for 5?
Yeah, she's not allowed back.
Yeah, Mrs. 5 for 5.
Why'd she do us like that?
Somebody didn't understand the assignment. Both I did not, and clearly she did not.
She just knew. She put that big boy stack on her Baylor Bears, and I'll be damned if it didn't hit.
It was impressive. Shouts to Brett for going to the game, but as people that were rooting for the game, I feel like that's short of the Matt Corral injury. I feel like that's the experience like you can hope for as like a fan of a team like that.
As a T-shirt Baylor fan, I have to thank TCU for upsetting Baylor in the season because had they not, you can't say how this rest of the season would have played out. But a one-loss Baylor team that wins the Big 12 very likely makes the playoff and gets absolutely destroyed by Alabama. Instead, now all the talk is Aranda, that defense, and they won the Sugar Bowl, and very likely they're the best team in Baylor history. It's the first Baylor team to win a New Year's Bowl. So yeah, that was cool to see. That the injury sucked. It took the wind out of it. I thought we talked about this in a group text, KJ. Greg McElroy, great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of his work, play-by-play or color guy, but I thought his words
He's
on
Ginger.
Corral were very, very, very nice. What'd you say?
I was saying he's got red hair.
Okay.
What was the Corral diagnosis? Was it a high ankle sprain or what was it? He's not going to like miss significant time, right? Because McElroy described the injury as sickening, which I thought it felt a little dramatic to me at the time. Like he's going to get drafted very high still. He'll be just fine. It wasn't a Jalen Smith like knee shred situation.
It was negative.
No.
The
expectation is that was a broken leg is what people thought in the moment. Turned out x-rays were negative and it's a sprain in which he likely is going to be okay by pro day and or combine if he chooses to do it.
Great to hear. But yeah, I just thought it was a little, all right, let's slow down. It's not sickening. He's going to be fine.
Well, the way it kind of got rolled up on, it looked like it might, you see that happen to linemen quite a bit where you thought maybe he just blew his knee out or there could have been a break there. And the shots of him crying were pretty devastating. Shout out to Ole Miss for competing, like losing your guy like in the first quarter.
It felt a little bit like an Apple Watch commercial. It was a little over top with dramatics, but
that made my top 5 moments of my winter break, KJ. The Apple Watch commercial. Fun fact, check out Circling Back.
All of your emotions just fucking drug out. See, the people at home don't realize whenever this happens to me, I very rarely will hear Circling Back before we do too much stuff. Even when I'm in studio, I'll hear about 40% in half of the conversation. And then I'll roll right up here and I'll say some of the same dumb shit. And Dylan's been very kind to me in the past. I think it was about the gallon of water or the Dixie cup. And I had the same discussion directly to Dylan after the episode. And he just goes, yeah, we talked about that. And it didn't embarrass me about it. I was like, all right, I feel like I was riding home,
Dixie cup,
listening to the motivation, reading a Dixie cup with the just a little bit more or not yet or whatever.
Our little
on the side of the cup.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, I've got some breaking news from our insider in Norman.
Is Caleb Williams entering the transfer portal?
Per source, my direct source, the word is that he is entering the portal regardless to talk to other teams, but the hope is OU can re-recruit him. Miami, if Joe Brady gets the OC job, and Notre Dame are the 2 front runners. UGA also some smoke, but I don't know if I buy that or if he buys that since it's all based on some big money NIL deal. You know how it is. Follow the money.
You got to go to USC if you're Caleb Williams.
They're not even, that's not even in the mix here.
Do they have like their next guy up already? I mean, is it, I don't know. If I'm him, I'm going to USC.
They did have a freshman that was one of the decommits, but I agree. You go where you're going to be most successful, but I guess that's game's changed.
Thank you, T-Man.
Oklahoma State, Notre Dame.
Dude,
that turned into a good one.
Tough scene for the Irish. They're going to win one of these at some point. I did not look. I might have been talking down on Spencer Sanders before the game. In fact, I was. I didn't think that I didn't feel good about my Okie State pick. And the fact that they were able to come back is pretty shocking to me because I was never super impressed by Oklahoma State's offense. But that's a big win. That's a really big win for Gundy. Is that like his I know that's not the best season in school history or anything, but like that's the best win of the Gundy era, isn't it?
Yeah. They haven't finished off a season with a victory of that caliber. They've had years where they were in contention for, BCS bowls or playoff right on the edge of it like they were this year, but either like at the end of it, they never quite closed it out. And this year they did. So shouts to them and for them to do it with defense.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Much like Baylor, because Baylor was like 0-3 on those bowls. And so, yeah, shout out to Aranda, shout out to Gundy.
Has Gundy ever been pursued by, I don't want to say better, but more prestigious program to become their head coach? Oklahoma State has been just really good for a long time. I mean, since he's been there, they've been a good program.
I think Fox and Friends was after him for a little bit, but he's
yeah.
He's more of he's an OAN guy.
He is, yes.
It's just a
I don't
t-shirt.
know.
It's probably a state.
I don't know specifically, but he's been. I guess the whole thing was like when T Boone was alive, like it was always discussed that like they're never going to get outbid if somebody came after him, and he was such a niche personality. Les Miles fizzled out, outside of his one success point at LSU. So I don't know if people were concerned like, hey, here's a. He's kind of a wonky guy, if you will. I don't know what that means, but quirky is probably a better word.
He is.
I don't know
Oklahoma.
if there were many time prestigious programs that said like, "Oh, here's the face of our program." Like,
he is in the same camp as Coach O, where
there you go.
You're not gonna maybe a little bit more marketable or more like sellable to other schools, but like Gundy and Coach O, they are right where they were. Coach O's not in Baton Rouge anymore, but that was perfect for them. That's where they fit in. And I imagine like Gundy going to like Washington or something, Washington State.
Yeah, he had to leave the OAN T-shirt at home if he did that.
And the mullet.
Probably
I don't know if the mullet.
Yeah, that belongs in Stillwater.
The mullet may not play outside of Stillwater.
I would say I could see him. Let's say things fizzle out at Mississippi State for Leach or Ole Miss for Kiffin. He takes another gig from, like I think those kind of positions, SEC, he could fit. Apparently Florida was a place he showed interest in before they took Billy Napier. So I could see that playing out. Okay.
That would be weird. That's one that would be weird to see.
Agreed.
Rose Bowl.
More about the Bros Bowl.
Heartbreaker for me. I love my Utes. That's my team out west. Cam Rising, you hate to see it. I mean, a lot of people were saying like, yeah, Ohio State won, but like had Cam Rising not got hurt like at the end there, like they probably don't win that game. Therefore, that's an asterisk for Ohio State. That's what a lot of people have said. I don't think I buy that, but I just saw it on Twitter. No, that was a sick game. That's the one that I was at Dillon's watching it, and I walked outside to like throw the football with Parks for 2 minutes. I missed like 14 points in that span.
That looked like an OU Texas Tech game from like 7 years ago. Just refusal to play any kind of defense whatsoever. But exciting as hell. And a game I think we needed after some of the games we've seen this bowl season. But yeah, tough to see Utah come up a little bit short on that one, but a very entertaining game. Well, the dude who went for 340 something receiving yards, what's his name?
Jackson, Smith, and Jigba.
Yeah.
Out
dude.
of Rockwall, Texas, or maybe Rowlett, one of the two. One of those east of the lake here in the DFW area. I've been touting that guy's name for, I don't know, a year. I'm not saying I picked him. He was the number one receiver in his class, but like they were playing with Olave didn't play.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Garrett Wilson, I want to say, didn't play. So their top two of their three receivers weren't playing in the game, and he just completely took over the scene. So shouts to him and CJ Stroud coming off, disappointing, Heisman loss, to just show up and be like, yeah, we still we keep that thing on us, if you will. I did not expect Utah to hang like that. I thought Utah was a run the hell out of the ball kind of team. So shouts to whatever the hell they've built out there that kept the score like that. I'll be honest, I didn't see every single play of this game, but the Pac-12 going 0-5 in bowls, I guess you can read something into that, with the exception of the fact that like they were right there in a lot of their games.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway, or the question that I'm sitting here pondering, is why, when Cam Rising got hurt, why was the former 5-star out of Duncanville not the backup when he on the depth chart was the backup? And I don't know, like I cannot find, people on Twitter were asking, but I never saw like a straight answer. as why the other kid got the nod. And shout out to him because he went down there. I think he's a walk-on and tied the game. Left a little too much time, but that's okay. Still a big moment for him. But yeah, I was a little bummed to see Jaquindon not get the nod there because I've been talking it into existence enough, and I thought I was very excited that this might be his moment, but that didn't happen. And I don't know what that means for him going forward there. I
think the coach said he sees him every day.
Well, okay. That's kind of a mean thing to say about your player. Hey, whatever Ohio State did, and they didn't play defense, but I don't know if you saw this. The Duncanville 4-star edge rusher, Omari Abor, chose Ohio State this morning. So
big time.
That is big time. I mean, because he was getting recruited by everybody. And
yeah, I think Texas wanted that kid.
Texas, Alabama. Yeah, I guess he saw that and realized he could probably get to the field a little bit earlier than some of those other schools.
Last thing, we talked a lot about the amount of players entering the transfer portal. It's been all over headlines. I mean, hell, we were talking about Caleb Williams, and I think you hit on exactly what goes into that. I think the part of what's going on now is that players are almost incentivized to enter the portal, essentially see what their options are. It doesn't mean you have to go anywhere. They don't have to leave their team or whatever, but essentially gives them a chance to be re-recruited. Whether it's the self-interest of like, hey, I want to be chased or whatever, or I need a new opportunity. But more importantly, it's like if there are other places that are willing to say, hey, you can't recruit openly saying we're promising you this NIL deal, but you can say, for example, this player got this NIL deal. So it allows them to hear some of those pitches.
Oh.
So that's why so many players, I would say, are entering. Doesn't mean all of them will leave.
Wait, man, I just thought about that. You can enter the portal, be recruited all over again, and get that NIL money if you haven't previously gotten the bag. Maybe you had an excellent sophomore season. You became a star. Like, okay, let's go get the money. That's interesting.
Correct. And with the COVID year, that year last year did not count against anyone's eligibility. So you wanted to stick around another year, and you're not like a surefire draft pick, but you're a highly productive player that can go contribute on a bigger team. There was a wide receiver out of Arlington Lamar who was playing at Wyoming. Had a hell of a season. Naylor, I want to say is his last name, Nelor, something like that. And that's a perfect example. Like, are you going to keep playing the Mountain West for Wyoming or take some calls? And I think he's got offers to Texas and A&M and Georgia and all these places that he wasn't recruited to out of high school, not only to move up in a rank potentially, but now go get that bag.
Wow.
Makes sense.
Just basically you become a free agent if you want to.
Exactly.
You got to do what's best for you.
Which the last thing on that, unless I missed something, still no word on Zach Evans.
Is he in the portal officially?
Yeah, he's been in the portal pretty much since end of season for TCU, running back out of playing at North Shore. There was a guy who signed on the early signing day with Minnesota that was a different Zach Evans. But Zach Evans, number 2 running back in his class, behind Quinn Ewers, number 2 overall player, I should say, is still out there. So I don't know what's going on there.
Per source, he is trending SEC. They're saying SEC, and it looks like Ole Miss.
Interesting.
Which, okay. I like Ole Miss's future going forward. I don't know. That dude. I'm not going to give up on the guy because you can't give up on that talent. But the last few years, man, I hope he gets it together because he was an absolute monster in high school.
Agreed. I mean, he was productive. And fortunately played for one of the best coaches in the country. So we'll see.
Who's that?
Oh, I'm not sure what the running back's coach's name is.
Oh, okay. Can we talk about our friends at Vizzy?
Man, it's been a minute, hasn't
Please.
Life is full of difficult choices. That's something that I've learned in my 37 years on this earth. That's why I love when I see Vizzy at the store, when I'm there buying my hard seltzer and I just look over, I'm like, well, that's what I'm getting. I'm going to get the stuff with the antioxidant vitamin C. Something unique, something delicious. That's what I'm bringing home. It's the hard seltzer. It's got the superfruit acerola. You know what it is. We've been doing this for a while. Nobody had us coming out of the gate just pumping Vizzy, but we are.
Speaking of difficult choices, as most of you know, I just moved.
You did.
And when you move, you pack up things that are near and dear to you, and you toss out the things that you may not need. I had a fridge full of many different kinds. Not many. I'm not like an alcoholic, but I had options in there, and I threw away a lot of things.
Yeah.
Guess what I did not throw away, David? And guess what made the move with me?
I'm gonna say Vizzy.
Vizzy, you'd be correct.
You can't just throw away superfruit acerola with the antioxidant vitamin C.
No, you cannot.
You can't. Now, there's plenty of other hard seltzers out there, KJ, but with its bold and delicious dual fruit flavors and, again, the antioxidant vitamin C, Vizzy makes the choice easy, and that it's a lot tastier. Pineapple mango, black cherry lime, strawberry kiwi, blueberry pomegranate, papaya passion fruit, watermelon strawberry, and more. They've even got the lemonade hard seltzers as well, and the watermelon hard seltzers, which I love. Each variety pack offers 4 delicious fruit flavors and the same antioxidant vitamin C. All of the lemonades are good with me, and the watermelons too.
I am a black cherry lime fan. There's been no question about that since day one in my new apartment setting. That puts me in a position to be able to utilize the community grill, which your boy has got lined up to say, hey, I'm going to head down there with the Vizzy, maybe a steak, throw some things on the grill, just put out the vibe, see what's going on.
Wow.
I got stuck on the lemonade flavors, and I couldn't get off.
It's tough, man.
I'm still riding that wave.
It's a great wave to be on. With Vizzy, you can enjoy refreshment with the antioxidant vitamin C and at 5% ABV, 100 calories, and less than 1 gram of real cane sugar per can. Every sip of Vizzy is more exhilarating. Check it out. Step up your seltzer game with Vizzy. To find out where you can purchase Vizzy, go to VizzyHardSeltzer.com/washed. That's VizzyHardSeltzer.com/washed to get updates on their latest flavor drops. Sign up for their emails at VizzyHardSeltzer.com/subscribe. Must be 21 or older. Some NFL stuff yesterday. I don't know if y'all are watching it all. I did.
National Football League, I believe that's what that stands for, right?
Correct.
I did unfortunately watch some games, yeah.
You want to lead with AB?
Yeah.
Who wants to issue the nuclear AB take? I felt like those were going around yesterday too.
I'll give one. He'll be back.
Ooh.
Ooh, I don't think so.
I think that as dumb as he potentially is, or unstable as he seems to be, with a couple exceptions, his current departure doesn't really have any legal issues tied to them. There's not a suspension pending. He didn't get any physical altercations with anybody that we saw. There likely will be a lot of questions and a lot of doubt sown towards him, which is probably owed and deserved. But my guess is there's going to be a team dumb enough to say, hey, let's give him a shot, especially when we're dealing with weeks and weeks of just, players getting benched due to COVID or injuries, a year from now.
You think like a team that maybe lost their really, really good third receiver yesterday?
Stop. I mean,
no chance.
The only reason he was on the Bucs is because Tom Brady basically went to bat for him, right? It was like,
absolutely.
He vouched for him.
He lived with him.
And after this happened, I just can't see another team taking a chance on him. It's too much of a headache. To do this right before the playoffs start, too.
In a game that they were losing, by the way, to the Jets.
I mean, that's egregious. You just completely quit on your team. I know the circumstances around what made that happen are kind of up in the air. I think today said that he had an ankle injury, that he didn't feel comfortable going out. And Arians was like, well, if you're not going on the field, then you're going to the locker room, basically. If there is some truth to that, some merit to that, then the story is a little bit different, obviously. You still can't just take your jersey off and run off the field that way. But it does change the narrative slightly. Who knows how true it is, though. Well, either way, he quit on his team.
Here's the thing about any time AB has something like this pop up. People make jokes, and then people remind you that he had a absurdly insane concussion back when he was with Pittsburgh, and people point to that, and then people like to take that and say there's something wrong mentally with him. This guy might have issues from that. People like to trace it back to that hit. I don't know if that's verifiable or not, right? But so then you're like, oh, well, should I even be joking about this? Like, is this something? It's a weird thing because the guy's had so many issues. Like, I mean, he froze his feet in a cryo machine. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely do.
Which that's not my favorite. That's just user error.
My favorite nugget of his history is when he got released like a full-blown black and white 8K definition documentary celebration of like running around his backyard saying, I'm free, I'm free. Like the guy clearly needs help beyond like being put on a football team and in that environment. No question about it. I would say the only reason he played, like Dylan said, is due to Tom Brady vouching for him, and further than that, Bruce Arians covering and Byron Leftwich being willing to deal with them. All of those options are out the door. The only other caveat is in both situations when he showed up here and in New England, the guy showed up in shape and ready to work and was productive and contributed. And unless like Mike Williams or Chris Godwin or somebody else in the locker room just hasn't said anything, up until this incident and, the vaccine card incident, like it's not like he was pissing off all these other players. Like I feel like Mike Evans has enough clout and tenure to like run him out a lot sooner than this if there was an issue with him before this. So, he seems like the type that can at least fall in and then eventually he'll be a problem. But I'm saying there's going to be a team that's going to look to use his skills for 3 to 4 weeks between now and the end of next year.
Okay, you've kind of convinced me. I wouldn't
say it's the Cowboys. That won't happen.
No, it's not.
I don't see it.
We got Cedric Wilson, the not only the third receiver, but also the best quarterback on the team. How about that? Like that joke?
Okay.
That joke was made yesterday. Cowboys lose to Arizona at home. A very depleted Arizona team.
And I don't mean that as like a Cowboys fan. I mean, it was just an entertaining NFL game.
It ended up being. I mean, the fourth quarter was fun.
Dak is broken. He's making some not bad throws, but like terrible throws.
I'm going to speculate. I had this typed out in a couple different group texts, and then I was like, I don't even want to like say this, but the way he is either woefully short or sailing the ball, or if you're Tony Pollard and you're 6 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, just pegging him with the ball. Not what you're thinking, KJ. Is the shoulder thing back and he just has no touch on short to mid-range throws? Because he threw that ball to Gallup on the touchdown, the one that Gallup tore his ACL on, was a beautiful throw. It just looks like he has no touch.
The CeeDee Lamb play where CeeDee Lamb's like Allen Iverson's shooting sleeve got pulled off. Like that was an incredible pass, like exactly where it needed to be. Lamb ran his route perfectly. They were perfectly in sync. He ran a curl route. And like, as he was breaking back, puts his hands up right there between the numbers, right at, eye level, makes the catch. Beautiful. And that was in the fourth quarter later in the game. So I don't know enough about golf or baseball to be as familiar with the yips as others in NFL. Really only comes up in association with kickers a lot of times, but there's something missing in his game, but it's so inconsistent to where he shows flashes of having it in the middle of a game or late in the game to where I'm like, I don't know if it's purely physical, because if it was physical, you're surely not running that out in the fourth quarter. Like the best series they had was after he had that fumble.
The Cowboys do what I pretty much did my entire educational career, and they don't really start doing their best until they're down double digits. They don't even bother opening the playbook until they're like, it looks like the game's over. And they'll do just enough to get right there to make you mad that the refs missed. I would say on that last drive, that last Arizona drive, there were 3 calls that did not go their way. And that's what people want to talk about now. But what really is the story is A, Dak, and B, I think you can call out Kellen Moore, play calling in the first half, like their ability to adjust. And I guess C would be the running game. I think there's combined 26 yards on the ground for Tony Pollard and Zeke. That was awful. And if they can't do better than that, they're not going to win a playoff game.
No. They're definitely not getting through Green Bay, even if they.
The thought of them having to go up to Lambeau, if they even make it that far, which is unlikely at this point, the thought of them going up there with no running game whatsoever is not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I would say that even the flashes of the defense being exceptional, like the Cowboys are very fun because of how great their defense looks to be and what we think their offense is based on like 6 games in the early part of the season against very subpar defenses. I don't see a defense like that phasing a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers when it comes to being playoff time in Green Bay, at that time of the year. So I'm still optimistic that, assuming that Philly isn't just that effing team, which I think they deserve some attention. They've won 6 out of the last 7. And they play the Cowboys to finish up the season, and they could be 7 of their last 8 and potentially play the Cowboys again. Like, I sure as hell didn't think Nick Sirianni was worth a damn, but he's putting together a team that does not have a wide receiver over 6'2", really, and making it into something.
Yeah, I think as of right now, I think the likelihood is Dallas hosts Arizona. They run it back because they pretty much got the 4th seed locked up, right? So it's either going to be, I think, Arizona or Philly. And I'm not saying I like their chances running it back against Arizona, who will have obviously they will be healthier by then. But the fourth quarter was something. They opened up the playbook. They ran the trick play with Cedric Wilson, which is I feel like that's never not worked. That dude is nails. But yeah, if they can't run the ball at all, and I don't know. I wanted to be I wanted to get excited when I saw Dak, like he did last week, running the ball, and then he gets the ball punched out on that sick play from what's his name, Isaiah Simmons. Yeah, that dude's a beast. I don't know, man. The Cardinals have a great defense. Chandler Jones is a kind of a game wrecker. Dude, I don't know.
To John Bones, of course.
Johnny Bones Jones, yes.
Yeah, it's freakish watching him and Buda Baker play on the same defense. Buda Baker's Troy Polamalu-esque. Like, he doesn't have the same size and big hit ability, but the amount of plays that he's involved in and ability to balance and ball hawk and be there for fumbles, that guy is incredible.
I can't think about that dude without picturing him getting run down by DK Metcalf, which is unfair.
Oh, that's true.
Dude's an absolute baller. He's all over the place. He kind of has some honey badger in him a little bit. He's just everywhere.
Mm-hmm. That's much better comparison than Polamalu, I'd say, just given the size and everything.
How do y'all feel about Kyler?
I mean, at the end of the game, I don't know if he made the decision or if Kingsbury did, but it seemed like there was a point where there was they needed to pick up a couple first downs, and he said, "You know what? I'm faster than everybody that's on this field."
Is there
maybe not every person at a 50-yard dash, but there's not a person that without a much better angle that is going to catch me if I just dead set sprint for the sideline. And he did it 2 or 3 times. And I'm it's just weird to see that happen.
I don't think there's an offense that you would least like. How do I put this? I would trying to face them in that situation where all they have to do is get a first down or 2. That is the most difficult offense to do that against. Because Kyler, I mean, they were running some option. What are you going to do? I mean, Micah Parsons is fast, probably one of the fastest guys out there, but he can't keep up with Kyler.
Nobody can.
And by the way, people need to start respecting the overused stat every time they play Kyler. Every time Kyler comes to Arlington, and that he's never lost in that stadium, because that is wild. He's the greatest high school football player in the history of Texas.
Yeah, but
yes.
What, 70% of his wins before he was a pro, right? Because he won a Big 12 championship there.
Correct.
At Oklahoma, a bunch of state championship games.
Three 6A titles at Allen.
And then this is a second or third win against the Cowboys.
I think that's his second win in Arlington, if I'm not mistaken.
That is a 6 stat, though.
It's a 6 stat. And you know what? I don't, it's overused, but I still, I feel like people don't really realize how sick he was in high school.
I guess we just don't. it's one of those stats that is impressive, but it's so unique because like Matt Stafford didn't have a chance to play high school games or college games in that stadium. So, it does not apply. It wouldn't apply if it was like the Butthole Stadium in Atlanta either, because Georgia wasn't making it to that many SEC title games and or winning them. But nevertheless, like
wow,
there aren't that many other quarterbacks that would be eligible to have a similar stat in their home state in a stadium. Period. Just because you have the unique situation where DFW market, Cowboys host a ton of high school football games, and then they also host a ton of college games each year. So like, I don't know if there's a Pac-12 or Big Ten or other equivalent, like a player that could even have something similar,
Yeah.
Through the ball.
But it's
man, tough scene for Kellen Mond.
He didn't deserve to catch.
I'm glad you're taking that angle.
What?
No, I'm saying to start it with Kellen Mond and not with the coach. We don't talk about the Vikings a lot here because they're a team that's on the cusp of the playoffs. We do have a listening base in Minnesota for sure. My dad's a Vikings fan. I watch the hell out of the Vikings and generally root for them, but they don't come up in our realm of discussion quite often. So I don't oftentimes have the ability to voice my absolute disinterest in any positive statements about Mike Zimmer. And while I never want to talk about like the ramifications of a coach losing their job, I'd be very happy if this was his last day as the Minnesota Vikings head coach. That's all I've got to say.
Turns out he's not real thrilled with their 3rd round pick.
Yeah, can we set the scene? So obviously Cousins was out for COVID, right?
Unvaxxed, and yeah, he made it. Gotta say, shout out to Kirk for making it this long. Nobody had that.
And so who started? I didn't watch this game.
Mike Mannion.
Mike who?
Or Sean Mannion or Mike Mannion. Mannion, I believe, out of Oregon State. He started 2 other games in his career.
Someone I've never heard of. Okay. Didn't play well, apparently, for this question.
Sean Mannion, actually.
For this question to be asked during a post-game press conference. And absolutely just skewers Kellen Mond for seemingly no reason. They asked,
I don't know if they were asking about next week, but like, are you going to consider starting Mond or playing Mond so you can, I think the words were, so you can watch him and see him and evaluate him. And his response was very Belichickian. It was, why would I do that? I see him every day.
Yeah. So
doesn't look good.
Doesn't sound good for Kellen Mond.
No, and is there something I'm missing? As I like Dylan probably don't follow the Vikings that closely, but I mean, you think that's a 3rd round pick's not nothing. It's a significant investment that the franchise has made in you. Maybe you want to see him on the field.
I would say that Sean Mannion looked okay in the beginning of that game. He obviously was not the guy to go toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers. Like that wasn't going to happen, but he made some throws. The clip after Aaron Rodgers, I think it was their 2nd touchdown or their touchdown to Devontae Adams. They immediately go to Mannion grabbing his helmet and then the rest of the sideline. NBC does this often where they're like looking for all right, now I'm up, like reaction from the other quarterback. And all of the faces just read, shit, here we go again. Like they've got to go back out there again. And even Chris Collinsworth was like, man, it's quite a feeling to sit there and watch on the sideline and watch Aaron Rodgers do his job. And you just know you don't have the weapons to respond.
Sneaky glad the Cowboys lost yesterday, so I didn't have to watch that game, like hoping that there was a chance they could still get the 1 seed if the Vikings beat Green Bay. I watched enough of it to be like, yeah, this isn't going to get better.
Vikings, I mean, they've got Dalvin Cook. They've got one of the best wide receivers in the league with Justin Jefferson. With Kirk Cousins, they were serviceable, but they've just lost too many random pieces on defense to like hang in there. Kudos to them for hanging around 500, but like, I don't know if Kellen Mond's going to ever start a game or beat anything in the NFL. And I'm not here to say that he is, but for a reporter to ask like, hey, do you want to see this guy that you invested 3rd round pick in and your head coach, who's a defensive coach, by the way, and who's done a good job of deferring to offense coordinators in the past, so much so that like Mike Shermer or not Mike Shermer, whatever, Shermer, Pat Shermer. I don't know why I keep calling everybody Mike. Shermer, Stefanski, like they've had other OCs get hired as head coaches. So it's not like he's not good enough to like defer to OCs enough to like become their own head coach elsewhere. But for some reason in this situation, he's like, yeah, that guy's not playing. I see him every day. Like, why not just be like, we'll consider it over the week. But as of right now, Sean Mannion's our starter going into next week.
Maybe they're just protecting him.
Or really, I guess they're asking because Kirk Cousins will likely be back.
Is that right?
So
okay.
if I guess with that perspective, like if you're the reporter, are you going to start Kellen Mond over Kirk Cousins? And it's probably a dumbass question. And I was thinking of an injury, but he'll be back by then, most likely.
Yeah. Good point. And then before we move on, just got to give a shout out to the Bengals.
Oh boy.
Actually, I had their box score pulled up to give some love to Jamar Chase for absolutely going off. 11 catches, 266, 3 touchdowns.
That's a really fun team. Like,
yeah,
I would not want to see them in the playoffs. I know that's not expecting them to make a deep run, but that would not be. I don't know. They're a very good team. Joe Burrow's. Is it weird to say Joe Burrow is already like top 5 quarterback? I mean, I don't know who I'm taking over him in like one game outside of Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes.
He's right there. I mean, he's top 7-ish. He's balling.
I like that you hedged a little bit.
He's 7-ish.
You respected what I said,
if you say the ish,
but you're not ready to go where I'm going.
One or two positions the other way, you know.
I'm prone to hyperbole.
I'll step it even back further. He's top 3rd of the league. How about that?
Okay.
But let me just read you the current AFC playoff
3rd.
race. Like, I don't know which of these teams you'd feel good about. Whereas with the NFC, like you've got Philly and San Fran in the mix. But like, as of now, the Titans are the number 1 seed with the bye, which might give them the ability to not have to play a playoff game before Derrick Henry comes back. Because remember, the discussion was he'd be out at least the regular season. If they come back with Henry in round 2, keep an eye out. But you have the Chargers, Chiefs would be a first round game. The Raiders still have a shot going into the final week of the season. Then you have the Colts, Bengals, and then the Patriots, Bills. So you got Mac Jones, Wentz, whatever. But Jonathan Taylor, like, I don't want to play any of those teams.
No, I'm
if
still
you're the Cowboys and you're in the AFC, hypothetically, like, who would you feel good about playing?
I don't know. It's been a weird. I watched the Chargers get dismantled by the Texans last week, so I don't know anything. I don't know anything about the AFC. I'm still riding with the Chiefs over there, but I do love the Bengals. Are really fun.
Cowboys did beat. Yeah, the Cowboys beat the Chargers and the Patriots. So I guess fuck me.
That was
8
like
seed looking in. No.
The Cowboys haven't had a good win in like 8 weeks.
True.
All right. Anything else on the NFL?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Can I interest you guys in sports party?
You want a party?
I kind of want to party. This is the segment where we not only talk sports, but we party at the same time.
My team wins a big game. It's good.
That's shitto. Haven't done this in a while.
Well,
how about this?
Hold on. Can I interrupt you?
There we go.
I did it again.
What'd you do?
Oh, let's just start the segment. We'll see.
What'd you do?
Rest in peace, John Madden.
Welcome to the segment where we party.
see.
Rest in peace, John Madden.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Well, like we said last time, it's a celebration of
Yeah.
his life, all right?
Yeah, his life was a football party.
So, John Madden, he has a legacy as like a football coach
Correct.
and a broadcaster.
Double correct.
Everyone under 40 probably knows him most as like video game guy, right? All three. I mean, what an absolute legend.
Not only the video game guy, but like the guy who is responsible for every concussion and every football injury and glorifying it in the last 25 years, really, per nuclear tweets.
I saw this from two different people.
People were really going off.
They, I guess there's the Mike Florio came to the defense of John Madden by playing the clip of when Jim Harbaugh, former Chicago Bears quarterback who had his career, very clearly impacted in his life to this day, impacted by concussions. Guys wear glasses indoors due to sensitivity to light. And John Madden, he was Harbaugh's being not Harbaugh, Jim McMahon is being evaluated on the sideline, and Summerall basically throws up there, well, it looks like they're taking a look at him, see if he wants to come back in the game. And Madden very vocally and very clearly is like, yeah, I don't think a player who has a concussion should come back into the game. And after his career, I guess one of the last events that he did see in his career was a preseason game where Derek Stingley, senior, all-pro cornerback, was paralyzed during a game. Noted Derek Stingley sounds familiar because he was paralyzed while his wife was pregnant, or he had a toddler who went on to now be Derek Stingley Jr. and is like going to be a top 10 pick this year. Derek Stingley no longer with us due to what do you call it? Complications from that injury. But John Madden advocated for player safety and a lot of things we didn't see. So kudos to him for that. I mean, there's not much more I can say that hadn't been said as far as his impact on everybody, with the exception of the fact that shouts to him for bringing the Madmobile through Urbana, Illinois. And when the O'Shea brothers were, padding up to play a big game, he was there to help the Little Giants get over the hump.
He sure was, yeah.
No one's talking about that. What was your favorite Madden? Whatever the N64 one was, that was my favorite.
04 to 07. I mean, that's just my wheelhouse of when I was full-blown video game addiction. Probably 6 to 7 hours of time wasted on NCAA football and Madden. I don't know. I played the hell out of whatever Dante Culpepper was on the cover of, which I think is like 03.
Ooh. Saucy.
Vince Young made a cover,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
It was a Titan.
Yeah. I was always an NCAA football guy. Never really graduated
Agreed.
to Madden. I like the dynasty mode,
Yeah.
Shit was tight.
Agreed.
Rest in
I
peace,
felt
Dan
like
Reeves.
an idiot. Yeah, I felt like an idiot when Dan Reeves passed. I only knew Dan Reeves as the coach of the Falcons. I assumed he was a player and had a career before that, but I did not know he was a running back for the Cowboys, or that he was like played in the Ice Bowl and was like a big, coach for the Cowboys. I only knew him from being the coach of the team that had Jamal Anderson doing the Dirty Bird. That's all I knew.
Yeah, I feel like that's like not a part of Cowboys lore that they really. I don't know. You know the guys from like the 60s teams and the 70s teams, but Dan Reeves is not really one of them that gets talked about. But anyway, I just read that. We got a Dana White, Jake Paul beef. Dude, this is like the coolest thing the Paul brothers have ever done is call out Dana White for fighter pay. And now they're going back and forth over drug testing. Dana White's saying, we'll steroid test you for 2 years. I'll take a cocaine test for the next 10 because Jake Paul calls him a cokehead. It's ugly. It's stupid, but it is. I think it is kind of funny to see Dana White try to get in the mud with the Paul brothers, and he is not ready for that. He's going to get memed to death.
For those who are not in the know, what is the pay beef for UFC? Like what is Jake Paul asking for?
He's saying that Dana does not pay his fighters enough. So like at a minimum, like what is it? Like he's saying you need to pay your guys, minimum $50K a fight. Because there's some guys who go out there and they might have a fight at the lower end of a card or on the prelims and get like 10K or 15 or 20. And they don't even get to bring all that home because they had to pay their trainer, their cornerman, all that. So it's all about like who's got the bigger pay-per-view eyes. Dana White's saying Jake Paul's losing, isn't doing numbers on pay-per-views on his last one with Tyron Woodley. And Jake Paul's like, well, I'm knocking out your champs. I'm knocking out your best guys. And so there's a whole thing. He wants to fight Jorge Masvidal, Cuban Jesus. Well, it'll never happen, I don't think. But it is a funny beef because Dana deserves to get some blowback. So shout out to the Paul bros. How about that?
And for something nobody expected or that we actually should be doing, but shout out to Ricardo Pepi, one of the most notable MLS players and the highest earning, I guess, let me rephrase this. A team out of Bundesliga has paid MLS club FC Dallas $20 million in transfer fees for his services. He's a 19-year-old who's fully homegrown in the MLS system, I believe out of West Texas, and then came up through FC Dallas's program. So good turn of the tide for the MLS. Shout out to Pepe for bringing $20 million back to Clark Hunt, because we all know the Hunt family needs more money. Noted owners of the Chiefs.
Well, I heard Mike's not doing
Oil.
so well.
There it is.
Mike's been down in the dumps. And lastly, back to the Jake Paul, Dana White tiff. Stolen valor by Brooks Koepka for rehashing a widely circulated tweet saying that AB was going to fight a Paul brother before this is all said and done.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, dude, justice for guy on Twitter who originally had that joke.
Exactly.
At Willie Chuck Jr. on Twitter, Craig Kirkendall.
There you go. I don't know if this is Brooks just trying to keep himself in the game for next year's or 2022's Player Impact Program, but apparently Phil won the inaugural season.
Dude, it's awesome to see Phil take that bag home, man. It's definitely something I care about as a casual golf fan.
Yeah, and apparently second place was Tiger.
Tiger doesn't even run his accounts. Like he has somebody for it. His accounts have no personality just because it's Tiger.
He has a slightly better social strategy than Jordan Spieth.
Yeah.
Tiger won based off posting his logo, one chip shot, and then like a comeback highlight reel at some point. And that's how he won $8 million last year. Like that's good money if you can get it. Unfortunately, Kevin Na, who's like number 2 in the, or no, Colin Morikawa, or maybe it's not, I don't know.
It was Morikawa.
Whoever's number 2 in the world. Morikawa, number 2 in the world, finished 11th and got $0.
Tough scene, man. I don't know. I love seeing these guys who get to play golf for a living and make millions of dollars doing so just get more money for being somewhat funny online. I mean, we're somewhat funny.
Phil
we're not
is
getting
good.
that money.
He is a content guy. Like, he knows what he's doing. He makes these little fine little clips.
He's definitely the best at it.
But is that worth $8 million?
I'm not mad at him for getting the bag. I'm just saying, like, that doesn't do it. Like when the outlets are like posting it, like, and they think like somebody like me is going to care about that. I'm like, cool.
Good for him.
Cool, man. I guess Phil hasn't made enough in his time.
Wild idea here, socialist, probably biased opinion, but why not take that money in half and then maybe like you have a pro-am approach to this. Here's the pros who were the top 10. They get this amount of money. And then you take that other cut and what influencers and people online, maybe if you can find like the Trevor Noah of golf, like did he bring enough impact to the sport?
That is a joke for 4 people.
Oh, KJ, come on.
Receive a percentage of the money elsewhere. Like, we could get a bag off one tweet. Come on, PGA. Spread this wealth around. Trickle down.
We're still looking for that guy, KJ. Oh, my God. That is so good.
Unreal, man.
All right. Well, do you want to run it back?
Hold on. I'm adding in one more.
Anything else you want to party on? Like any other deaths?
The other dads. Oh, shouts to Betty White and her Snickers commercial. That was a great achievement in athletic history.
Weeks before hitting triple digits. That's tough.
Wasn't it days? Wasn't it?
I think it was a couple of weeks, something like that. I don't know.
Still close. Look, I'm a Golden Girls P1. Used to watch the show with my mom. Like every night, every weekend night. I loved the show. It's a good show.
You loved Golden Girls. Is that
absolutely? I swear to God, put that in there. Run it back on that. I dare you.
0 episodes ever watched. Not to say it's bad. I've just never ever seen a second.
KJ, thank you for being a friend.
I don't know.
Okay, let's run it back.
What is it? What is this?
It's a segment during which we talk about what we already talked about. Obviously.
Okay.
Catch Dylan in a swacket. Not the other one that I said.
Yeah, that was good. That's good. Good that you've formally made it a swacket.
KJ's TV wire game, though trash, is only temporary. NIL free agency is now a thing and could get interesting. A source close to Oklahoma, T-Man, thinks Caleb Williams will enter the transfer portal but might return to OU.
You can't just out T-Man like that. You can't burn a source, bro.
Sorry, T-Man. Let's be sure and edit that.
Fucking Kerry Matheson over here.
KJ once again adds a death to the sports party.
2.
Actually, somehow
2.
3.
The Hunts are doing quite well, most notably Mike. Thank you, David.
Hey, look into the patriarch of that family too, by the way.
Okay. Lamar's granddad. right?
Mike's fan?
Or no, Lamar's dad.
No, I'm sorry.
KJ
Clark's
wants to see
granddad.
Trevor
Not a
Noah.
fan of JFK.
KJ wants to see Trevor Noah
Oh.
of golf to get the bag. Again, no one gets that.
So,
And finally, Dave loved Golden Girls.
you know who else loved Golden Girls? Gene.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. that's
Old
it.
Gene loved Blanche. Well, guys,
What
that's
was the fiery, voluptuous one. What was her name?
that was Blanche.
Was Blanche?
Yeah, she was the one with the Southern accent, and
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
she was very sex positive.
Good for her. We celebrate that.
We celebrate that.
Yeah.
Great show.
All right, that was fun.
Hey, well, good podcast, KJ. I can't wait to get you back in studio.
Monday. All back to normal Monday.
Very cool. Well, we will see you guys. Oh, we doing a live stream Thursday.
I think we should do a little final week of the season kickoff, and then we'll, as needed for the playoffs. And as people should know, dip picks, maybe the points get bigger for certain players as we go into the final weeks. Who knows?
Keep this thing going as long as we need to. I think
30-point deficit.
I think I had a great week and made up 1 point.
You made up zero. Well, you made up zero because you tied the guess.
I'm over it, man.
We'll talk more about that on Thursday.
I'm over it. I might not participate next year.
Oh, he's opting out. Classic. Let's get out of here.
Bye.
That's all I know. I don't want my chips plain. I want my chips with the dip. So bring them